Before we proceed any further, I just want to begin by acknowledging the treaty territory of the Anishinaabe, which is defined within the pre-Confederation treaty known as the London Township Treaty of 1796. Throughout time, this region has also become the current home to the Haudenosaunee and Lenni-Lenape nations. So I also want to just take a second, if I could, for us just to think a second about the tragedy that occurred in our residences in the last few days. I think we're always aware of it now, and I think we all hold the value of human life very highly. So I just want to take a few seconds, if we could, just to maintain some silence and with our own thoughts with regard to the tragedy. Thank you very much. And I know we're all comforted by the continuing work that we do in staff, and we wish obviously the residents of the area and also our staff that they're able to deal with this in the best way they can moving forward. Next is the completion and acceptance of the agenda. I understand, if I'm correct, that we're being joined by the auditors this evening, or do you know that, Paul? We're going to move the auditors report up if they were here.
So Dania is here on the call.
All right.
So she is the representative. Yep.
Right. So if we could just amend the agenda to move the audit plan up to the first matter on the agenda, if we could do that and just move the agenda as amended, if everybody is okay with that. So that's moved by Shelley. Just need a seconder. Seconded by John. All those in favor? That matter is passed. We don't have any disclosures of pecuniary interest. The previous minutes were circulated. I just want to give everyone a chance to raise any issues if they have any. Otherwise, just look for a mover and seconder for approval of the minutes. Moved by Gary Bezaire, seconded by John Corboy. All those in favor? That matter is passed. Before I go any further, I also want to welcome Councillor McAllister to the board. We're very pleased to have you here. Congratulations on your election. Nothing but best wishes going forward in your 4-year term. I know you'll face lots of challenges, but just know that you'll have our support, particularly on matters relating to London Middlesex community housing as we move forward. So thank you very much for agreeing to join us, and we're very excited about that. Is there anything you want to, any wisdom you want to provide us before we dive right in?
No, I just wanted to say hi to everybody and look forward to working with you over the coming term.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. And of course, we welcome back the Deputy Mayor, Lewis, who's here. We did see you the last meeting, but thank you for coming back to the board. It is nice to have a Deputy Mayor on board. I think next time we'll go for maybe a prime minister or something like that, but we're working we're working our way up, and we'll see where we get to.
I'll avoid any political commentary on that, other than to say you're stuck with me for 4 years. So
we're happy to be stuck. If we're going to be stuck, we're happy to be stuck with you. I don't have any communications. There's no delegations and no presentations, no in-camera matters. So we will proceed with the agenda. We are going to move up staff report 2022-85, which is the audit plan for the year ending December 31st. I don't know if I don't see Diana here. I don't know if there's any introduction before we hear from the auditors with regard to their plans. Paul?
Yeah, I can just do a quick introduction. So our auditor this year, or in the past few years, has been KPMG. The auditor is appointed by the shareholder, and the shareholder, the City of London, is just finalizing the process to appoint the auditor for 2022, which would be sort of this year. KPMG has the contract till December 31st, 2022, and we're proceeding with the assumption that KPMG will be your auditor moving forward. If that changes, we'll be notified by the shareholder, which will change this whole dynamic. But in the interest of making sure we take a process that is, quite tight and complicated and keep it moving as best we can, we thought we'd present the audit planning report this year. And as per prior years, we've asked KPMG to present that and give an overview to the board and be available to answer any questions that you may have, so you understand the process and are confident in it. So with that, I'll turn it over to Danya, and she can let us know, walk us through.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, everyone. I just want to let you know that Katie was the partner on the job. She was in the waiting room, so I don't know who can let her in, perhaps.
There we go. She's
Perfect.
like magic.
Great. Just in time. I assume everybody has a copy of our audit planning reports.
We do. It was sent with our agenda.
Okay, that is perfect. Katie,
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Sorry, I'm trying to get my camera. I'm trying to get my
but cannot see
camera.
you.
Okay, I am trying to get my camera working. I've been having trouble with
We'll give you a sec.
Zoom
Not a problem.
lately. Let me just see if this works. There we go.
There we
Hello,
go.
everyone. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Not a problem.
Okay. So for those of you who I haven't met, my name is Katie Denbach. I'm the audit partner for the City of London and all of its boards and commissions. And with me tonight is Danya Nabani, who's the senior manager for LMCH and has been for a number of years now. What we've put together for you in this report is sort of everything that we're required to communicate to you under Canadian auditing standards, as well as some information that we felt was relevant to you in your roles, particularly in the job that you have overseeing the external audit process. So the report's kind of made up of both of those things. And maybe I'll just start really briefly on page 1 of our report, which is the executive summary. So we've just sort of summarized here what we plan to go over at a high level, and Daniel will go through those items shortly. But basically summarizing how we conduct our audits to a high level of quality, what the anticipated materiality level is that we expect to use for the year-end audit, the proposed fees for the year, as well as some of the procedures that we perform over the significant financial statement captions for LMCH. So I'll hand it over to Danya, who I think is going to start on page 3, which is the materiality slide.
Thank you so much, Katie. So on page 3, we have included here the details of the materiality. The materiality calculation is consistent with the prior year and is based on the forecast current year expenses. We will continue to reevaluate the calculation throughout the audit based on any changes we have identified. And I would like to point your attention to the audit misstatement posting threshold. This will be the threshold that we will use to communicate to you any differences we identify throughout the audit above that bounds.
And maybe before you go on, Danielle, I'll just ask the question quickly of the board, just to make sure if you'd like any more detail about, these are sort of audit technical terms that we're going through now. So recognizing that some of you may not have seen this concept before, happy to give a little explanation if needed, or answer any questions that you have at this point before we go into any more depth.
Yeah, so I think if someone wanted to ask a question, knowing my colleagues, I think they'll let us know, and I'll
Perfect.
just reiterate that.
Okay.
So if something comes up that they don't understand, they will ask you a question, and you will hear. So not
Okay.
a worry.
All right. Thank you.
Great. So I will move on to the next couple of pages. On those pages, we have included here our audit risks, which include the fraud risk from revenue recognition. This risk has been rebutted as management's performance is not based on earnings. The second risk we have is the fraud risk from management override of controls. This risk is not rebutted, and we will be performing procedures to address it. On pages 6 and 7, we have included here some other areas of focus and our planned audit procedures to perform to address them. These areas were included here due to their essentially significance to the financial statements, and these areas remain consistent with the prior years. On page 8, we have outlined here some key dates and deliverables. And I will hand it to Katie on page 9.
Sure. So on page 9, we've just included the proposed fees that were put forward as part of our proposal to the city. So a slight increase year over year for LMCH. And then in the appendices, you'll see a whole bunch of other information we've provided for you. So there's some guidance in terms of the other required communications, where you can find those. Some information on how we use technology in the audit in Appendix 2. And then in Appendix 3, there are some live links, which contain links to other sources of information we thought you might find of interest. So things that we're hearing discussed around the board or the audit committee tables that are of interest more generally to organizations at the moment. And then in Appendix 4, we've included current developments as they relate to public sector accounting standards. So there are a number of changes coming down the pipeline effective for the fiscal 2023 year for LMCH. With respect to asset retirement obligations, and I think financial instruments. I think those will be the two that may impact the financial statements. So wanted to provide you some preliminary information about those new standards, and certainly we'll have discussions with management as the implementation date draws nearer to determine what the impact might be on the financial statements for LMCH. And then in Appendix 5, there has been a change which will be effective for this year. And it's an auditing standard change. So what that means is you're not going to see any change to the financial statements themselves, but for us as auditors, there's a new documentation standard that needs to be met. So it's around risk assessment, and we've provided some information for you there. So more of a change in the background, and management may see a little bit of change in terms of the types of questions and the depth of responses that we request from them as we go through our risk assessment process. But as board members, you likely won't see that change. And that's sort of our audit plan at a high level. Happy to answer any questions, as I mentioned.
Great, thank you very much. Questions for the audit team? No, we don't have any. So I guess we just need a motion to approve the audit plan, moved by John Corboy. Need a seconder, Gary Bazaire. All those in favor? Thank you very much. So thank you very much for presenting that. You can, we moved you up on the agenda so you can go and enjoy the rest of your evening, and we look forward to working with you in the coming year. So thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. All right, so we'll move on to the next item of the agenda. We'll go to the consent agenda items. There are 3 reports from the director. So maybe we'll just get a motion to receive those, and then we'll get the reports and see if there are any questions. So is somebody prepared to move receipt? Deputy Mayor Lewis, seconded by Gary Bazaire. So we will do all 3 reports at once. Go ahead, Paul. We'll stop for questions after each report, though.
Okay, thank you. And through the chair, just a quick overview of the CEO report and just a few verbal updates from the CEO, just to sort of, there has been a lot of activity in the last actually few days and sort of moving some things forward. So just in the report, you'll see that the town halls continue. We had a town hall today at William Street that was well attended by tenants. It's a really good day there. And our last town hall of the year wraps up in Park Hill, small 10-unit seniors building in the outskirts in Middlesex County. So it's that will wrap up all our buildings and multi-residential sites, and we'll hit the townhomes and family communities in 2023. So really happy with the results of the turnout, really positive experience. Also noted in the report is sort of the connection that we have with the City of London in terms of their budget planning, the strategic planning, and looking at the multi-year budget process. So there's some deadlines in there. I think just to note that, you know, as our budget is part of a consolidated budget with the City of London, that has been tabled with SPPC. There'll be some discussions on January 26th and 27th, and then that'll move to City Council for approval. And in, I think, February. So that included in that is a business case to adjust the financing for Reimagine Southdale. So that's of importance to us there. And then we've had our first conversation of aligning the LMCH priorities with the city priorities and their new strategic planning framework. So we'll work over the coming weeks to do that alignment as we present back our strategic plan and our order of magnitude kind of pricing for strategic initiatives we're moving forward. We'll connect those dots and bring that back to the board and sort of share an update on our strategic plan and that alignment so we can keep that moving. And then just in the terms of HR, just want to recognize the retirement of Lisa Smith Jean-Pierre, 32 years with London Middlesex Community Housing and its predecessor organizations, which is something that we will not see too much of just in the nature of employment today. So she started off in finance and spent the last decade working closely one-on-one with tenants, providing service and supports as community relations worker. So just wanted to sort of acknowledge that those years of service and dedication to the community. I think that's important to recognize as an organization. And just other things in human resources, our procurement manager, Shelley, has joined us. So she's getting to work to sort of streamline the process for approval of procurement as well as the packages that come to the board. So that is really exciting. And really just highlight that we're down to 4 open job competitions. And that's, I think, the first time in the last 14 months where we're really not trying to hire 7 to 10 people at the same time. So we're turning a corner in staffing and our numbers are increasing, and that it better enables us to move some of the strategic initiatives forward. It's been a challenge through the pandemic. It sort of delayed a lot of things we wanted to do, but just really pleased with the performance of the human resources team and the managers just to get down and get these jobs filled. That's going to be really positive. Just a couple of other acknowledgements of things that are happening. We were advised today by Middlesex County of their appointment to the board. So it is the mayor of Strathroy who will be joining our board, and of course it's not popping up in my email. But he will be joining us at our next board meeting. We've started the orientation process and really pleased that that's happening. We also note that the City of London has advised they'll be posting the vacant tenant director position that we've requested in the coming days. So we'll start the outreach to fill that position now. The deadline for submissions would be like January 13th, so mid-January. So we'll go through that process to make sure we have a good outreach to the community. And later on at today's meeting, we need to form the subcommittee for the board to sort of get that work done. And I think the last thing to do is just, acknowledge and thanks to the chair for acknowledging, the tragic death of our tenant in this past weekend in the Bully community. I think, as an organization and as a community, we're saddened by this type of loss. And while, we serve 5,000 households and tenants, we're not inexperienced in sort of dealing with the passing of our tenants, but sometimes, you know, over the holiday season and sometimes the circumstances make them tougher than others. So we've done outreach to the community. We've sort of done some door knocks to the neighbors and offered supports and just did check-ins, and which is really positive, and that was well received. And just you were following up with staff just to make sure that they're doing okay. So whether you were in to do some maintenance in the unit or had talk to them over the phone or something. So these things can impact our staff. So we're just checking in to making sure everybody's doing okay. And, you know, staff and tenants in the community, I think we just need to sort of reflect and, you know, heal a little bit from the situation. So just thanks to the staff for doing the great work they did to do the outreach, and we're here to support them through this process. And I think that's sort of the update I would have sort of as my CEO report.
Thanks very much, Paul. Questions for the CEO on his report? No, from the chair, I just want to say the William Street building is right around the corner from me, and I'm really glad that you went there. Great building, great neighbors. We're really happy to have that building in our neighborhood and enjoy meeting people and spending time over there. I've spent a lot of time talking to people as they're out during the summer, and it's quite nice to meet them. And I'll try to get to meet them even more now that I'm on the board, back on the board. So I appreciate that. I just appreciate that you've gone out to so many buildings, and I think it's not a small thing, and I think it's really significant for our community. So thank you. So you can go ahead, I guess, to your next report, which is the Reimagine update. Oops, I'm sorry, John, you had a question.
That's okay. That's okay, Phil. I'm used to it. Through you, Chair. No, I really just want to emphasize, like, on a serious note, Paul, everything you said. I really appreciate your compassionate approach to leadership and everything that the staff is doing, and just having that sense of having that heart and compassion for the community through this. And I just hope, you know, for anybody who does watch this, that they know that they're not alone, and in difficult times, there's always support, and it might not be exactly what we need or we want it to be, but definitely don't have to go through anything alone. And there's no words that are going to change how awful and horrible and tragic and devastating and heartbreaking it is, but it's just really refreshing to know that there's such an incredible staff and people and community that are there to support one another. So I really just wanted to emphasize and say how much I personally appreciate seeing that. So thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, thank you. Paul, we can go on then to the Reimagine report.
Excellent, thank you. And through the chair, just doing a verbal report on the Reimagine Southdale, just because it's pretty live, a lot of things happening. We went through planning committee late November, and I'm pleased to report that on Tuesday night in City Council, the zoning bylaw amendment was approved by City Council. So really thank the support of staff on this process, and of course Council and Deputy Mayor Lewis for just, you know, making sure that the project keeps moving forward, and highlighting the importance and significance of it for not only LMCH, but I think the city and the community. It's sort of it's an important project, and building family housing, you know, in communities that need it is important, and sort of really be able to stay that course and provide this housing is really important to us as LMCH. And I think it's important to the community that we don't change its dynamic by changing the housing type. So really excited about that the ZBA was approved, and really thankful for the support we received throughout this. And just flag the sort of 2 next steps, and there's 2 more milestones and hurdles that need to be managed through this process in the near future. We are doing our final review of the site plan approval. So this is the sort of detailed schematics and landscaping and drawings, et cetera, that need to be approved by City Council. And so it's a fully staffed process. It'll take probably, 6 to 8+ weeks to sort of go back and forth on sort of just the technical requirements, and making sure that we're doing what the city expects of us, and we're clear on the expectations and communicating well with them. So that we're doing our final review internally. We're hoping to submit that next week. So that will sort of keep that process moving quite expediently. And the second hurdle or milestone for us is the budget approval process. As I mentioned, there is a business case in the budget package that realigns the funding previously approved through the multi-year budget to align to fund this project. And that with that approval, we'll then be able to sort of initiate the project and get that underway, plannings and permits and procurements early in 2023. So it is on track for a 2023 demo, and fingers crossed on timing of the world and where the pandemic is, breaking ground and moving forward in 2023. So it's quite exciting. As I mentioned, 50 years since the last new build at LMCH. So we're really looking forward to getting that started.
Great. Questions? Shelley, go ahead.
Not a question, just I want to commend you, Paul, and team for the speed at which you were able to get the zoning bylaw amendment through. It's almost unprecedented. And so thank you for keeping it as a priority and working with the city on that. I think that's going to make a significant positive impact on our overall construction schedule. So great job.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Yeah, I'm just going to very quickly echo Shelley's comments. Thanks to Paul and all the staff, and Paul even providing the notes to be able to respond to some questions so that I was prepared for the debate on Tuesday night. That was great. When it comes to the budget milestone, when I was going to vote against something in the budget, I used to say I'm going to channel my inner Phil Squire. This time I get to say I'm going to channel my inner Phil Squire to vote for something in the budget. So that'll be great.
Very funny guy. I don't know what to say after that. Thank you. You got me there. Anything else? All right. Thank you. Paul, go ahead to the vacancy management. Now that we've had the good, we can go to the vacancy management report, right?
All right. Thank you. And through the chair. Overall, our vacancy numbers are not improving the way they need to. And we've seen over the course of the year a shift between units being rent ready and staffing issues challenging renting those units, into a shift towards the end of this year where we have an accumulated number of units in make ready and we're not delivering on our target of 30 units return to rent ready each month. And this is a challenge that there's all kinds of logical explanation as to why that did occur, and it's been a trend that sort of happens at the tail end of each year. Just want to acknowledge that it is not where we want it to be, and I'm working actively to monitor this weekly to sort of return to the 30 plus units each month. And our objective is to get down to the 2% vacancy in unit for unit prep and units in make ready by March 31st. So we're going to continue strong on this. There's a number of measures we put in place for monitoring and just sort of putting some base work in over the last 6 weeks on this that will produce the results, but we're not really satisfied as an organization of where we're landing on this right now. And I think I'm just, the commitment is to hit that target by the end of Q1. And I think with that, the report speaks for itself.
Great. Questions? John, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Paul, I think I appreciate that. I'm really less concerned with the statistics and just looking at the underlying reasons behind this. And I know we've had some discussions briefly before. So, I mean, when you and I meet in the new year, maybe that's another item we can add and we can just have further discussion one-to-one and just chat about some ideas to bring forward, because I really think it's deeper than just a number. The number doesn't tell the story. So I'd like to know the realities behind it to try to think of some creative solutions to move in a different direction instead of that ongoing, yeah. Thank you.
No, Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Yeah, I'm going to pick up where John left off. And I'm just wondering, Paul, if you can expand a little bit, how much of this is reflective of labor issues, whether that's our own staff or whether that's external contractors who have to come in to do some significant restoration work, and or supply chain issues that we're having versus just the general levels of, you know, damage that we're finding in units, repairs that are required. Like, is it more labor and supply chain, or is it more the detail of work is just increasing?
So I can speak confidently in two of those areas, not necessarily on the level of damage. We haven't done the sort of, we're collecting some information, but we haven't done the analysis on that. What we're seeing is a combination of absences in the workforce, just temporary absences and not malicious in that way, just in terms of we have staff absences on short-term unpredictable time periods where we can't refill. So as an example, in one of those buildings where that absence occurs, our focus is really on just getting in and do the priority maintenance repair, and you don't have the capacity to have our own staff go in and do the vacancies. And it's in one of those buildings that has high turnover, so that accounts for 20 of the vacancies. So it's sort of, and that building was well in hand 5 months ago. So we were sort of a little bit of a roller coaster on some of those sites where we have those vacancies, and we fall behind on the vacancies as we do the unit make ready. And where we try to augment with contractors, our vendor pool is very limited. So we found we've stretched them. So they will take the work, but they won't meet the deadlines. So we have initiated engagement with a couple of other vendors that are starting in our buildings now to sort of take through that backlog. So it was a combination of the vendors not being able to have the capacity to do it, our own staff not having the capacity to do it. And I think, you know, what we're seeing in terms of maintenance requests and the damage on turnover is impacting this. So this is something that has been building for a number of years, where the state of the units that are returned to us require a significant amount of work. There's very few sweep and a paint job. It's full flooring, a lot of work, damage, intentional and otherwise, that needs to be managed. And that's creating just the length of time of some of the vacancies. And I think when we come back in January, we've been tracking this information through the year. So we'll make sure the next report has a little bit of information on the state of the units that we're getting, and Phil will take a note on that, because we have been tracking that information because it's something we didn't have good data on, and we wanted to make sure we knew if that was a driving factor. But we do know that anecdotally it is, we just don't know if it's affecting the timeline. And that's sort of, for me, that's, you know, that's good to know, but is it impacting the timeline and our ability to get the units done? We just really haven't correlated that yet.
Deputy Mayor, follow up.
No, fair enough. That sounds good for now. And I know that you and myself and Paul are meeting in the new year to talk about some ways we might be able to address some of that. So we'll leave it there for now. But I just wanted to know if there was more of a labor issue or a supply chain issue, or if it was related more to the level of repairs needed. And it sounds like there's definitely some of column A and probably some unquantified of column C. So
yeah, for sure.
Great, thank you.
Shelley, go ahead.
Deputy Mayor Lewis may have taken the words out of my mouth. I just wanted to reiterate to staff that, you know, respecting our role as a governance board doesn't exclude us from helping in any way possible. So, you know, as you sit down and think about how you're going to wrestle this thing, again, I would just want to extend the invitation that we are here to support you, and we will certainly participate in any of those conversations that are needed, or do any outreach within the community as needed. I mean, it is an issue that we are all concerned about. It's not your issue, it's our issue, so.
Absolutely. And it's, the challenge for us is, we have tenants who are waiting for these units. So it is our top priority.
Anything further? Yeah, just if I could, I thank you very much for that, what the board put in just now. I couldn't agree more with what all of you said. And I like what John said, it's a number, but we have to find out what's behind it. And I think that's key. And every month we have a board meeting and I go over this with Paul, and I think everyone's aware of it. And everyone's working on it. And I think we've got to get to the best number we can. And I know when I rejoined the board, I said, is that number the number? Because sometimes we throw a number out and we've all had bosses who say, you've got to do this, and it's not attainable. So I think we have to get a real grip on where we can get to and how we're going to do it. And I think we're all committed to that. So thank you. So that completes all of Paul's reports. Thank you very much, Paul. Again, thanks to all of you for dealing with the events of the past week. It doesn't go unnoticed by the board, and just another appreciation for that. So we just need a vote on the three reports that have been moved and seconded. So all in favor of receiving those? Thank you very much. That matter is passed. So now we will move on to the Human Resource and Governance Committee reports. And I'll turn it over to the chair to provide any verbal update, deal with the issue of the subcommittee as we need to. And so I'll leave it with you, Gary, go ahead.
Great, thank you, Chair. And through you, so we did meet. There were a few items, and I'll just provide a brief update on them. Dirk Volshank provided us with an HR update, which included an overview of the first 3 quarters of the year, and that job descriptions, as well as an occupational health and safety program is being completed by a consulting firm, the same firm for both those. And then Paul provided us with a 2023 annual salary adjustment scale, which I think he's going to get into. And then followed by tentative meeting dates for 2023. And the board then agreed that a subcommittee is to be formed for tenant board of directors, composed of 3 board directors, community partner, and 1 LMCH senior staff member. And I don't know if we go ahead and do that now, or do we wait maybe till I finish my update and then go into that? Would that be best, you think, Paul?
Yeah, I think we need to make sure the report is
Finish
tabled. And
okay.
Yeah, so I think we just bring it out.
Okay. Followed by Paul provided us with board governance updates, including procurement practices, process and policies, and streamlining procurement at LMCH Investment and Community. And I don't know if there's more to explain to that than Paul. Good with that.
There's really just updates, and through the chair, just updates on some of the work that we indicated we were doing or we were asked to do related to procurement and board orientation and onboarding, and just various items, as well as the delegation policy. So just sort of giving some timelines and some sort of progress reports on those. So it's really just for the information of the committee and the board, just to understand that items are moving forward and when they'll expect to hear back from them.
Yeah. And my last thing was just that, about the onboarding of new directors, that the policy is being reviewed for that.
Great.
That's all I had.
All right. So we're looking for a motion then to approve the 3 reports. And will that include, do you want me to pull out something?
I think we need to pull out
2209,
the selection process for tenant directors, just so we can appoint the subcommittee.
All right.
And
so
there's also delegated authority in that report as well. So we just want to make sure that's managed.
Okay. So we'll just deal with, first of all, the human resources update report and the board governance update report. So I just need a mover and seconder for those 2. Moved by John, seconded by Shelley. All in favor? All right, so those 2 are passed. And then on the vacant tenant director matter, are you looking for a motion, just so I'm clear, to appoint 3 directors to that committee?
Yeah, there's a series of motions and recommendations. One is forming the committee, directing the committee to use the established framework and guiding principles that were attached to the report. direct the subcommittee to review opportunities to enhance the selection process by creating an interview process for top candidates, which is not in the current process, and is recommended from the prior subcommittees. And the other important thing is delegate the authority to nominate the tenant board director candidates to the chair of the subcommittee. So the subcommittee will select its own chair through a process. And on the timelines on this, we will get the candidate applications on January 16th of 2023, and the city would like us to return our recommendation on January 30th. So 2 weeks is a good amount of time to do that. But to do that, we need the delegated authority to the subcommittee chair to write the letter to the city.
All right.
And that is consistent with past practices.
All right. So I just need a motion then to do those things that Paul enumerated. Was someone prepared to move that? Moved by John. Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Lewis, all in favor? All right, that authority and the other matters are passed. Are we to appoint our directors today?
That
Or
would
can
be
that wait?
that'd be preferable to appoint the 3 directors, yes.
All right. So can I first ask, Mr. Becerra, do you want it, Gary? Do you want to serve on that subcommittee given your position? You're on mute.
I have, my concern is I'm not going to be around at
Okay.
least one of those weeks. The second week, I think I'll be around, but I'm going on a vacation.
All right,
January
why don't we,
16th.
why don't we leave you off then? Are there 3 people who would be interested in doing it? I know we have 2 elected officials here who have a lot of other responsibilities. Shelley's putting up her hand. Anyone else? It's going to be tough for me, just given all of my other responsibilities. I hate to say it. Can we appoint?
I've sat in on this before, so I'm familiar with the process. It's not a big learning curve for me, so I'm willing to join Shelley and help with this one again.
All right, that's great. Anybody else can do it? All right, I will do it then. We'll figure it out.
Well, you do have the option of nominating those who are not in attendance.
Yeah, I hate to do that. I've seen how that works before. Okay, so we have a slate, which is 3, Shelley, myself, and Sean. Someone prepared to move those as the 3 directors. Moved by John, seconded by Shelley, all in favor. Great. So our work is done in that regard. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next matter we have is the staff report with regard to 2023 annual salary adjustments. I'll turn that over to you, Paul.
Excellent. Just a report just to request the approval to increase management and exempt salaries at the same rate we do for our unionized employees. It's the practice of the organization, sort of that's how we manage inflationary increases. This is to make sure that management exempt staff get the same increases as unionized employees, just to keep the gapping and keep everything and compression, sort of some of those issues that can happen if you're not inflating salaries appropriately. And based on our experience in recruiting over time, it's important that our salaries don't start lagging, because that will lead to higher attrition. So I think just looking for the board's support and approval to have that salary increase approved, so we can communicate that to staff and start that on their anniversary date.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on that? Somebody prepared to move? Oh, John, go ahead.
Through you, Chair, I just want to say that I agree with increasing wages in circumstances like this, because it costs more to find new staff and then train them and get them dedicated. And I've seen it many times, and it's really just worth investing and believing in your staff and people that are capable and already doing the work. So I'd like to move this. Yes.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor McAllister. All those in favor? Thank you very much. So the next matter is the board meeting schedule. Paul, I know I don't know if you want to comment on it. It's just a document, I think, that lays out the schedule.
Yes, I think just I will briefly comment and through the chair. This just the board schedule. We're really trying to balance out the need to meet and the business of the board with just sort of reducing the number of meetings, especially in finance. So what we've provided is the monthly board meeting dates, as well as the corresponding finance committee dates, and then the quarterly meetings for the human resources and governance and the tenant services committee. So once we have an appointment of the 3 new directors to the committees, we can finalize the dates and times for the meeting. So there may be a situation where someone who's on the human resources and governance committee cannot meet on Wednesday night. We've got the meeting on Wednesday night. So we'll do some minor adjustments. So we can expect that some of these dates may shift, but they're in line with the requirement to have committee meetings 2 weeks before a board meeting. And they are in line with sort of keeping our board meetings every third Thursday. So what we hope to see is, with the change of the procurement policy, less finance committee meetings, but the other meetings will probably stand true for where they're at, with some shifts a day or two depending on the availability of the members. So just wanted to share that for information, and we'll start populating some of these dates in the calendars of the members we know, and then we'll finalize them early in Q1 with the work plan, and we'll bring that back to each committee.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? No, just from my point of view, it's good to have the dates in front of us, because it's schedule. I know for me, at least, scheduling can become a problem if I don't have the dates, because I work on a monthly schedule. Second, I think for all of us, we want to have meaningful meetings. If we don't need a meeting, that's fine. That doesn't hurt anyone's feelings. And so I appreciate the approach you're taking. Somebody prepared to move that? Moved by Deputy Mayor Lewis, seconded by Gary Becerra. All in favor? All right, thank you. The next series of reports are with Mr. Renault, and they were all contract awards. So I think what we can do is move them as a package. So that'll be items 3C all the way through J, and then we can go through as members of the board want to ask about particular ones, we can do that. So before I asked for comments from Mr. Renault, if we could just move it and second it, get it on the floor, and then we'll deal with them as a package. Moved by Shelley, seconded by Gary. And so I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Renault, and you can, if there's ones you want to go through, if you don't want to go through any, and just answer questions that directors may be concerned about, that would be fine.
Yeah, through you, Chair, I'm happy to take questions. It would take quite a while to go through each of them individually.
Right, fair enough. All right, so open up for questions. John, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Only question, and not really a question, just a comment as I'm looking at it. Like the playground, I think playgrounds are great. I don't want to stop playgrounds by any means, but I also know through research I've done in the past that sometimes splash pads with playgrounds can be less than what that total cost is. So I just want to throw that out there as a comment, and happy to provide that information for anybody curious about that. But I think something like that just helps engage with more people in the community too, and kind of opens it up to older ages as well that maybe have outgrown playgrounds. So just throwing it out as a comment, I think any investment in youth and activities is incredible. So not at all trying to put a damper on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything about what John mentioned or that you can help with at this point in time, or is this just an offline discussion? Mr. Renault?
Through you, Chair. It's really not something we were looking at that point in time. This is part of the CMHC project. And we were looking at our family sites where no playground existed, or more accurately, where playgrounds existed, but were removed and not replaced.
Great. Okay. Shelley, you had a question?
Not a question, just a comment in
Go ahead.
that although we weren't able to review these in detail through the finance committee because we didn't make quorum, I would like to note to the rest of the board members that all of the projects presented here tonight fall within the capital plan and are aligned with the multi-year budget. So from a finance committee perspective, there's no concerns.
So that is why Shelley is the chair of that committee, because of that. So thank you very much, Shelley, from outer space. You provided great information. Thank you very much. That's appreciated. Actually, that's something that we might miss, but that's really important. So thank you. So if there's nothing else, we'll just vote on approval of those matters. We'll vote on them as a package. So all in favor? Oh, all in favor? Great. So they are all passed. Any inquiries or new business? No. So all I want to do now is thank all of you. I haven't been back long, but it's been fantastic working with you. I've really enjoyed it so far. I'm looking forward to the new year, and I want to wish all of you a really great holiday. You all put in a lot of work here, so you deserve a holiday. So thank you very much. Spend time with your family and your loved ones, and we will see you in the new year. Bye now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and see you in 2023.
All right. Thank you.